Hey everyone, this is Bola. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance, and I'm also the author of the new book, Choosing to Prosper, Triumphing Over Adversity, Breaking Out of Comfort Zones, and Achieving Your Life and Money Dreams, which drops this summer 2022. Welcome to Clever Girl Finance TV and to another episode of Real Women Talk Money. So I have two incredible women from Team Clever Girl Finance with me here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Yazmir. I'm the content creator for Clever Girl Finance.
And hi everyone, my name is Carli and I'm the social media creator here at Clever Girl Finance.
And today we're going to be talking about why it is important to acknowledge yourself and celebrate your successes no matter how small they might be. And the reason why this is so incredibly important is because I had to learn how to celebrate myself. I had to learn how to be proud of what I have achieved because I realized that representation matters. And when you're able to celebrate what you have accomplished, you're also able to share what you have accomplished, and you're able to motivate another woman coming up behind you. I think it's really important for women to see other women accomplishing their goals, achieving their dreams, especially in career, in business, in relationships, with money. And it's important to see that success happening through celebration, and not just us celebrating ourselves, but us also celebrating other women. And so we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask some questions about, how we are celebrating ourselves, if we are celebrating ourselves, and how we can do it better. So feel free to grab a notebook, call a friend to join in on this conversation, and let's get into it. So I'm going to start by asking you if you celebrate your wins and successes. So do you celebrate your wins and successes often, or do you feel like you could do a better job?
Not often. Sometimes I feel like, well, I didn't do anything special. But then I have to remind myself that no matter how big or small, I need to celebrate it.
Yes. And on our Instagram page, we have that every single week.
Yes.
We make it a goal.
Yes, we make it a goal to invite people to share their goals, and we read each and every one of them. And you're also invited to post your wins there, and we go and we celebrate it.
Yep, we make a big deal about it.
Yes.
On Fridays on Instagram stories, we encourage women in our community to come on to our Instagram page and share their wins, and that is so important. What about you, Carli?
Yeah, I would agree with Yazmir as well. I don't do it enough. I don't do it often. Sometimes I have trouble figuring out how to do that. So it's definitely something that I can do better with.
Yeah. For me, I try to make an effort to celebrate my successes. Before I didn't. And when people would try to celebrate me, I'd be like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. It's nothing. No, yeah, that's a small little thing. But I've learned to embrace it. And the reason why I've learned to embrace it, I've been intentional about embracing it, is because when I'm able to celebrate my wins, it reminds me of how far I've come, especially when things are not working out, or especially when there's a lot of outside voices trying to put me down, or if I'm going through a difficult situation. And one of the things I started doing was just keeping a tally. I have a list on my notes in my phone of every small, tiny little thing, big thing that has happened for me every year. And I put it there whenever I'm feeling down or feeling imposter syndrome or feeling less than capable, or other people are putting me down. I go back and I'm like, yes, this was me, I did that, this was me, this is more for me to share, to empower other women. And so I celebrate myself often. I could do it more. I should do it every day because I'm worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's something that we should all be doing. So when you look back at your accomplishments, what's something that you're most proud of accomplishing that you should be celebrating yourself for?
For me, it's just being a first-gen college student. It was not easy because there was no one that did it before me, so I wasn't getting advice or any direction there, and that was a big deal. And I remember my graduation, I had something over my cap and gown, my gown, and it said like first gen.
Okay, like one of those little lapel things, or
Yeah,
like
the
long,
the
I forget what they're
Yes.
called, yeah.
not the cords, but the other, I forget what they're called.
Yeah,
but
it's like a big scarf kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like a scarf, so I was able to add that in. And the girl behind me, we were online to go into the auditorium to have a seat, and she's like, "Oh, what does this say?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a first gen college grad." She's like, "So?"
So,
And I'm like,
so
"Excuse
something,
me?"
so a lot.
That's a
So
lot.
big deal.
That's a big deal.
It is a
So
big
be
deal.
quiet.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, but I will admit, at that moment, I'm like, well, I'm not. It's not like I'm the only first gen. But then I had
Then
to
you start to
remember-
minimize your success and what you've accomplished.
Yes, but then I have to remember that there are others. First gen graduate college grads that are behind me, and if I'm not celebrating it, they're not gonna see that it's worth it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say for me, something that I really should celebrate more is not only just completing undergrad, because that was a really big deal for me and my family, but also moving out on my own for the first time. Anything that I've pretty much learned post undergrad, I've pretty much done by myself. I kind of just figured things out as I go. And then the same thing, like the imposter syndrome sometimes kicks in when people are like, oh, well, like, just wait, adulthood gets worse. Or like, like, you're supposed to do that. Like, at your age, yeah, that makes sense. And then it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't really be, like, making this a big deal. I guess everyone moves out and has to figure out everything on their own at some point. But then I realized, like, I've put a lot of effort into the life that I have right now. And there's still so much for me to do. There's so much for me to learn. But every little step is a big deal. And I look back and I'm like, a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I'd be on my own doing all this stuff, but I am. So that's worth celebrating still.
Yeah. I think for me, and it's even surprising to me, is that up until recently, I never considered myself like an author. Even though I have written 3 books. This is now my 4th book. And I've also written a book every year for the last since 2018, so the last 4 years. But I never embraced that author-writer title, because I was like, wow, who am I? I'm not a big fancy Daniel Steele. I'm not, a famous author who's written all these books. I've only written 3, and then only. And then people reach out to me and they constantly ask me, what was your process? How did you write the books? How did you get your book deal? I'm like, wait a minute, you've accomplished something here by writing 3 books in 3 years. Get yourself together and recognize that this is a big deal. You are an author, you are a writer, and you should embrace it, right? And so that's something that has been hard for me to accept, because I would always minimize, oh yeah, best-selling author, yeah, sure, it's just those 3 books, only 3. But no, right? So sometimes it's like, in your head, there's like, I had some disconnection, honestly, that I had to reconnect. Sometimes we minimize ourselves so much, but for me, that's something I'm really proud of. I'm just being able to embrace it and say, yes, I'm a 3-time best-selling author. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to say, but that's the truth, right? So that's something that I'm proud of. My next question is, how can we do a better job of acknowledging ourselves and celebrating our successes even more? So for me, I was challenged with accepting being an author, being a writer. And it's not about bragging. I think for me, I associate the acceptance with, oh, I'm now being arrogant. I'm now too good for myself because here I am, fancy author. But it's not about that. It's not that mindset of being arrogant. It's just celebrating what you've done. Because guys have no problem.
Oh no.
Absolutely not.
No.
And I'm sure you see this in HR all the time. They have no issues. Yes, I'm a big deal. I wrote 3 books, by the way. There's no
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I accept your congratulations. There's no issue with that, right? So how can we do a better job of celebrating our successes, empowering ourselves so that we can then pay it forward and empower other people? So like example, wearing our first gen scarf proudly, right? Regardless of what the girl behind us had to say. How do we do that more? How do you imagine yourself celebrating yourself more intentionally?
Well, I think for me, the first step is to ignore what people say.
Yes.
Yes, because there's a motive behind that. They may have that imposter syndrome, or they may feel like, I can't accomplish this, so I'm gonna minimize what she's doing. So just like ignoring that and just celebrate it, and remember that everyone who accomplishes something will get criticized.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yeah. And I think that going alongside of that, the first thing that I think of is that it kind of starts with me, like personally. So, like limiting or dimming the noise and the voices of the people around me that are stealing my joy in things. Because I've always been a pretty like optimistic person and very joyful, because I just like to have joy in life, and I think everyone should spread that and share that. But sometimes it takes that one person to say something that's irritating, and then I lose sight of how much joy there still is in what I'm doing. And so I think it starts with like quieting the voices around me so that I can listen to what's actually important, which is like the joy and the excitement of experiencing new things. And sometimes people can really dim that and taint it. But working on quieting those voices so that the joy is like louder than their noise.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And for me, it's continuing to keep my list, and also reminding myself that when I acknowledge my success and I celebrate my success, I'm signaling to my young daughter that it is normal for a woman to be confident and successful. It's not a taboo. It's not something shameful. It's not something embarrassing. It's not something unattainable. It is normal. Normalizing success for women, normalizing confident women, right? So that she grows up feeling confident and feeling ambitious and feeling that she can also go and achieve her dreams. So that's a reminder for me, especially when I start to minimize. I'm like, wait a minute, what impression am I giving my daughter when I'm minimizing my successes? I don't want to raise a timid child. I want my child to have a voice out in the world, because that voice is necessary, especially as a woman of color, minority, a Black person. Having that voice is so important, and I don't want her to feel like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do this, so I have to remind myself that, and that is why I celebrate my successes. And it also inspires other women, and I have been inspired by the other women beyond me who have also celebrated their own successes. So thank you so much for sharing, ladies. So one thing to keep in mind is that confidence and success and celebrating your success, there is no status criteria for it. You can celebrate your accomplishments regardless of where you are in life, regardless of, what you are or what people expect you to be. You can be successful based on the criteria that you determine for yourself and not what other people determine for you. And it's important to celebrate yourself so that you can empower yourself and empower other women around you as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, tell all your best girlfriends about Clever Girl Finance, and follow us on Instagram at Clever Girl Finance. And you can also stop by clevergirlfinance.com to check out our over 30 plus completely free courses. And finally, be sure to pick up a copy of my new book, Choosing to Prosper, everywhere books are sold. It is currently available for pre-order and is available in ebook, audiobook, and physical book formats. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.